today's students' level of concern is learning to wait for their answers to questions. Most students who are resisting participation by not answering a question will break down fairly quickly if the teacher just learns to wait for an answer. The problem is that research shows teachers are not skilled at waiting for answers. In too many cases, teachers become impatient and begin to fire questions at students in the hope that they will answer even one of them. As early as 1973, Mary Budd Rowe described what happened when teachers become impatient. She said, "What would your reaction be if someone started firing questions at you at the rate of 2 or 3 questions per minute? Doubtless you would have to think very rapidly to respond. Perhaps some questions would be left unanswered because you needed more time to collect your thoughts." Scenes of intensive interrogation appear in hundreds of classroom tapes. Analysis revealed that after asking a question, a teacher waits 1 second or less for a student to begin an answer. If no response is started within 1 second, the teacher typically waits less than 1 second, about 8/10 or 9/10 of a second, before commenting on the answer or asking another question. Some teachers asked as many as 10 to 12 questions per minute. That's 450 questions in a 45-minute interval. The teacher was working very hard, but what about the students? Their breathing rate and their sighing rate went up as the number of questions increased. This research indicated that when rapid-fire questioning overrode wait time, students shut down and withdrew even more from active participation opportunities. As a result of Rowe's research, we know that there are really 2 times in every questioning sequence when teachers must learn to wait. Wait time 1 is the pause following a question by the teacher. Whether students respond quickly or slowly, the teacher tries to wait at least 3 seconds for an answer. This wait time gives the student time to think of an answer. If the student does not answer after 3 seconds, the teacher can give cues, clues, or hints, or ask another student for help. Wait time 2 is the pause following a student response. The teacher tries to wait another 3 seconds before commenting on the answer or asking another question. This wait time lets all the students in the class process the answer that was given and compare it to their own. During wait time 2, it's very important that teachers remember they should never repeat, criticize, or praise the original answer. Doing so stops all thinking in its tracks. Don't you wonder how active participation might improve in your classroom if you just learned to wait for their answers? The benefits of wait time are tremendous. Research shows that when teachers use wait time expertly, the length of each student response increases, blurting out unsolicited but appropriate responses decreases, failures to respond decrease, student confidence increases, speculative thinking increases, teacher show and tell decreases and child comparing increases, student-generated inferences increase, student questions increase, and contributions by slow learners increase. Active participation has clear benefits for learners. First and foremost, students understand lessons more deeply. Expert Pat Wolf tells us, no matter how well planned, how interesting, stimulating, colorful, or relevant the lesson, if the teacher does all the interacting with the material, the teacher's brain, not the student's brain, will grow. We want student brains to grow. We want students to understand their lessons as well as they possibly can. Active participation makes that happen. The second benefit for learners is that they understand the lesson to a greater extent. There's an old saying, students remember 10% of what they read, 20% of what they hear, 30% of what they see, 50% of what they see and hear, 70% of what they say as they talk, and 90% of what they say as they do a thing. Remember, active participation is all about getting students to do. A third benefit for learners is that they understand the lesson more quickly. To understand why this is true, we go back to Robert Marzano. He says, "It's not until students have practiced upwards of about 24 times that they reach 80% competency. Notice how the increase in competence is less and less after each practice. The first 4 practices result in a level of competence that is 47.9% of complete mastery. The next 4 practices account for about a 14% increase in learning. One finding from the research on practice that has strong classroom implications is that students must adapt or shape skills as they are learning them. The more we give students an opportunity to actively practice lessons, the more quickly they will learn them." Active participation also has clear benefits for teachers. One benefit is that active participation results in fewer discipline or behavior problems. Mary Budd Rowe tells us why. She says, "One of the things that teachers in our study worried about, and we did too at first, was that with an increase in wait time, there would be an increase in discipline problems. If you don't keep the action going, it's bad news. We found, though, that the actual number of disciplinary moves the teacher had to make dropped dramatically." The basic principle is easy to understand. When students are busy doing something related to learning, they have less time to create discipline problems. The second benefit for teachers is extremely important. Active participation gives teachers evidence of proving behaviors that demonstrate whether students have got it before they leave the classroom. Madeline Hunter talked about this benefit in Mastery Teaching as early as 1982. She said, "A second use of time which yields rich learning returns is the technique of addressing a question to the entire group so that each student feels responsible for formulating an answer. This is in contrast to naming a student and then asking a question, which frequently results in only the designated student thinking, while the rest leave their minds idle because the pigeon has been picked for this one. Such questioning gives the teacher essential diagnostic information of who knows what, whether the majority is certain or uncertain, and whether the material is understood or needs to be retaught." Think back to the story of the 2 boys and the dog at the beginning of this presentation. It's not nearly as important to know what the teacher taught as it is to know that the students got it. How much have you learned? If you can answer the questions in this short concept test, you are well on your way to understanding how active participation makes learning happen in your classroom. Number 1, how would you define active participation? Number 2, what are the 5 critical attributes of active participation? Why is each of them so important to learning? Number 3, list and define the 3 types of active participation. Number 4, what are 3 ways teachers can hold students accountable for active participation? Number 5, why do teachers need to hold students accountable for active participation? What are the teacher and student benefits of doing so?